So let me make sure I understand exactly what's going on here. I have to buy Shadowkeep or Season of the Undying to get access to the Leviathan's Breath quest. But the quest itself is made up entirely of content that was released with Destiny 2. You even have us going back 2 years after killing the arms dealer to kill the arms dealer again with no narrative reason as to why. He's not a nightmare. This isn't a strike remix. Hell, you couldn't even be bothered to dub over new audio. You literally just have us doing the exact same strike from 2 years ago to kill somebody for a quest who's been canonically dead for the past 2 years. Like, you literally could have just made this a nightmare hunt or had us go kill Gaul. I mean, there's lazy, and then there's Bungie lazy. On top of that, as I've already pointed out, you can complete the quest by doing exclusively content that was available in Destiny 2 Year 1. Or you could play some Gambit, which is content that was available in Destiny 2 Year 2. But nothing in Destiny 2 Year 3. Yet people have to buy Shadowkeep and Season of the Undying to play this quest. So what you're saying is you categorically don't care about bringing value to your consumers, and you're trying to see how little work you can actually do while still making buttloads of money.
It's hard for us to make this much content. It's just hard making content in general.
Of course it is. What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again, once again, and another DLC, another poorly designed exotic quest. At this point, you can almost set your fucking watch by how lazy this shit is going to be. And yes, it is lazy. This mind-numbing exercise at replaying old content is even peak lazy for Bungie. So stop me if you've heard this before. You fly to the tower, you pick up a quest, and you go play some Gambit. Or you can play some Nightfall Strikes, dealer's choice, then you go to the Leviathan and kill a bunch of Cabal. But this time, with a bow. And then somehow, someway, you go back in time to kill Badassmcawsome, a strike boss that we killed 2 years ago, all the while listening to Cade quip on and on and on, like he didn't receive a .44 caliber triple bypass a year ago.
Any last words? How's your sister?
And is it just me, or is this regurgitated banal shit getting lazier and lazier? When they did it with Lumina, at least they added rose and some purple crystals to the Zul strike. You know, when you went back in time to kill the worm god for the weapon now that you killed a year ago at that point? Yeah. When you're in the normal strike playlist or the Nightfall playlist, this sort of thing doesn't really matter because the general conceit is, past the first run, strikes are not canonical. However, the Leviathan's Breath quest is happening now. It's part of a story being told now. One made up completely of old content. And that's the other thing. Let me make sure I understand everything going on here. I'm paying for a new exotic quest made up entirely of Year 1 and Year 2 content that I already own. I think we're starting to see more and more that while Activision was a problem, Bungie was also the problem, and they seem to have only gotten worse without Activision. How they've managed that, I didn't think it was possible, but here we are. I mean, real talk, at the end of the day, this is a DLC quest where you have to own the Season Pass to access it that is completely dependent on content from Destiny 2 Year 1, and I guess Destiny 2 Year 2 if you want to play some Gambit instead of doing Nightfall Strikes. Released as part of an expansion that is almost entirely made up of content from Destiny 1, and a little bit of Destiny 2 Year 1, with maybe 5 to 10% if I'm being generous, the Vex incursions and the raid, being actually new content. I think this would have been less irritating if the bow was just part of the Season Pass and you unlocked it as you progressed, or if it was just an engram. But here's the kicker. Here's the creme de la creme pie. There's literally, currently, a narrative reason as to why Badassmcawsome could be back and alive. and Bungie just doesn't use it, it's the nightmares. Or if they wanted to be really, really lazy and do absolutely nothing with no extra work required, they could have just had us go kill the Gull Nightmare. I mean, sure, they could have sprang for a remixed version of the Arms Dealer strike in the vein of how they remixed a handful of strikes in Destiny 1, you know, with slightly new encounters and new audio, or, better yet, they could have done a unique exotic quest line for it, but
It's hard for us to make this much content. It's just hard making content in general.
But hey, fucking details. As for the weapon itself, the lore tab is broken, which is really a shame because I would really like to know what Banshee is doing making a bow before Callus has arrived in our system with the Callus theme and Callus flavor text. Other than that, short of the novelty of shutting down supers in PvP, which is incredibly enjoyable,
One minute left.
the weapon is just kind of meh. It's not an LMG, it's not a rocket launcher. If you're using this in PvP, you're using it to shut down supers. And hey, if that's the role you want to play, great. Here's a weapon for you. But you're not going to be racking up those easy heavy weapon kills. As for PvE, more of the same. Sure, it's good against unstoppable champions, but when it comes to boss DPS, look elsewhere. Which is kind of odd. Clearly, this weapon is way overbalanced for PvE. Since, I mean, it'll end a Guardian in Super and PvP anyways, so PvP balance isn't even a consideration. But in PvE, you're not doing a lot of boss damage, and you're better off using a grenade launcher with spike grenades. Also, it's an exotic, so if given the choice between a legendary spike grenade launcher or an exotic bow that doesn't do a lot of boss DPS, what am I gonna pick? I'm gonna pick the grenade launcher every time, and that's kind of sad, but hey, fucking details. All in all, if you have half an hour to an hour to kill, it's not a bad weapon to have, but for fuck's sake, Bungie, can we try creating some original content? Well, at least we can always depend on the cash shop to have 100% original, guaranteed content. Halloween reskins. Well, okay. That's not a good sign, and I clearly stand corrected. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and like always, stay frosty.